You have been searching in abandoned lots for flowers that bloom quietly in your own heart. Feel that for a moment, the exhaustion of it, the endless reaching, the desperate grasping at faces, at achievements, at moments that promise to fill the ache within you. And still, the emptiness echoes. Still, the longing grows. Every morning you wake and dress yourself for another day of seeking approval in others' eyes, seeking love in temporary touches, seeking meaning in external accomplishments. You have turned yourself into a beggar, knocking on doors that can never give you what you already possess. But what if I told you that behind the walls of your own chest lies a garden more beautiful than any paradise you could imagine? 800 years ago, a Persian poet named Rumi wrote these words: "Let yourself be silently drawn by the strange pull of what you really love. It will not lead you astray." He knew something that we have forgotten in our modern rush toward everything except ourselves. He knew that the heart is not an empty vessel waiting to be filled by the world, but a secret garden already blooming with everything we seek. Close your eyes. Breathe. Imagine this. Within your chest, behind the walls of bone and flesh, lies a garden that has been growing since the day you were born. In this garden, every flower you have ever admired in another person's life already grows. Every quality you have ever envied already blooms. Every love you have ever craved already roots itself in rich, dark soil. But here is the mystery. This garden remains invisible to us because we spend our entire lives looking over the walls, convinced that the real flowers, the real beauty, the real love exists somewhere else, in someone else's garden, in someone else's life. Rumi understood this backward search. He wrote, "Your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it." What barriers have you built? What walls have you constructed around your own heart garden? Consider this. Every time you think, "I am not enough," you place a stone on the garden wall. Every time you believe love is somewhere else, with someone else, you add another brick. Every time you tell yourself, "I need to become someone different to be worthy," you block out another ray of sunlight from reaching your own flowers. And so, your inner garden exists, lush and vibrant, but hidden from your own sight by walls you built with your own hands. But the flowers, they grow anyway. Love grows anyway. Beauty grows anyway. Even in the darkness you have created, your heart continues to bloom. Here is what Rumi knew that we often forget: the very qualities you admire in others, their peace, their joy, their capacity for love. These are reflections of seeds that already exist in your own garden. When you fall in love with someone's laugh, you are recognizing the laughter that wants to bloom in you. When you are moved by someone's kindness, you are seeing the kindness that already grows in your heart. We fall in love with our own reflection, seen in the mirror of other souls. Take a moment now. Place your hand on your chest. Feel your heartbeat. This is not just blood pumping through your body. This is the rhythm of a gardener at work. Your heart has been tending its garden every moment of your life, even when you forgot it existed. Let's practice something together, something Rumi would call turning toward the beloved within. Sit quietly. Close your eyes if you feel comfortable doing so. Place both hands over your heart. Now, instead of thinking about what you need from the world today. Ask yourself this question: what wants to grow in my garden today? Breathe. Wait. Listen. Maybe you sense compassion wanting to bloom. Compassion for yourself, for the way you have been searching so desperately outside when everything was already within. Maybe you feel gratitude trying to surface. Gratitude for this heart that has been beating faithfully for you, caring for its secret garden, even when you ignored it completely. Maybe you notice peace beginning to sprout. Peace that comes not from getting something from the world, but from finally coming home to yourself. Don't force anything. Don't try to make flowers bloom. Simply tend to the garden with your attention. Water it with your breath. Give it sunlight with your awareness. Rumi wrote, "The garden of love is green without limit and yields many fruits other than sorrow and joy. Love is beyond either condition. Without spring, without autumn, it is always fresh." This is the truth. Your heart garden exists outside of seasons. It doesn't depend on external conditions to bloom. It doesn't need someone else to water it. It doesn't need perfect circumstances to flourish. It blooms because blooming is its nature. In our modern world, we have been taught to be gardeners of everything except our own hearts. We cultivate our careers. We tend our public image. We water our external relationships, all while our inner garden grows wild and unattended, not because it is neglected by life, but because we have forgotten it exists. But here's what happens when you remember. The moment you turn your attention inward, the moment you place your hands on your chest and acknowledge the garden within, something shifts. The flowers that were always there become visible. The love that was always blooming becomes accessible. The peace that was always rooted becomes your daily reality. This is not technique. This is recognition of what has always been true. Think about your daily life. How many times do you check for love in a glowing screen? How many hours do you spend looking into other people's lives, convinced they have flowers that you lack? How much energy do you spend trying to cultivate beauty in your external appearance, while your inner garden grows unnoticed? What if, instead, you became curious about your own heart? What if you spent even 5 minutes each morning not checking what the world wants from you, but asking what wants to grow within you today? Here's a simple practice that Rumi would recognize. When you find yourself admiring something in someone else, their confidence, their peace, their joy, their creativity, instead of thinking, "I wish I had that," try thinking, "I recognize that. What form does this quality take in my garden?" When you see someone's kindness and feel that familiar pang of, "I'm not kind enough," pause. Place your hand on your heart. Ask, where does kindness grow in me? How does my unique kindness want to express itself? When you witness someone's courage and think, "I could never be that brave," stop. Breathe into your chest. Wonder, what form does courage take in my garden? What small seed of bravery wants to be watered today? This is not about becoming someone else. This is about discovering who you already are beneath the walls of self-doubt you have constructed. Rumi wrote, "Everything in the universe is a pitcher brimming with wisdom and beauty. The universe is not outside of you. Look inside yourself. Everything that you want, you already are." But we live as if the opposite were true. We live as if we are empty pitchers, hoping someone will pour wisdom and beauty into us. We live as if the universe is a collection of external things we must acquire to become whole. The garden within reveals the lie of this assumption. Your heart already contains seeds of every quality you have ever admired. Your inner garden already grows every flower you have ever sought in the world's garden. The question is not, how do I get love? But how do I recognize the love that already blooms within me? The question is not, how do I find peace? But how do I tend the peace that already roots itself in my heart? The question is not, how do I become worthy? But how do I see the worthiness that was planted in me before I could even doubt it? What would change in your life if you truly believed this? If you woke up each morning not as a beggar seeking scraps of love from the world, but as a gardener excited to see what wants to bloom in your heart today? What would change if you entered relationships not as someone hoping to be filled by another person, but as someone overflowing from your own inner abundance? What would change if you pursued your work not as a way to prove your worth to the world, but as an expression of the creativity that naturally flows from your heart garden? What would change if you faced your difficulties not as evidence that you're broken, but as weather that passes over the garden while the roots remain strong and deep? This is the invitation Rumi offers across 8 centuries. Stop being a refugee from your own heart. Come home to the garden within. But here's what makes this challenging. The garden within doesn't bloom according to your timeline. It doesn't grow the flowers you think you need when you think you need them. It blooms according to its own ancient wisdom, its own perfect timing. Sometimes what grows is grief, not because something is wrong, but because grief is love with nowhere to go, and love is always growing in the heart. Sometimes what blooms is anger, not because you are flawed, but because anger is the flower of boundaries, and boundaries are necessary for any garden to thrive. Sometimes what emerges is confusion, not because you are lost, but because confusion is the flower of growth, and growth requires the breaking apart of old forms to make room for new life. Every emotion that arises in your heart is a flower in your garden. Not all flowers are pleasant. Not all flowers smell sweet, but all flowers serve the garden's wisdom. The practice is not to have only beautiful emotions. The practice is to tend whatever grows with the same loving attention, to water your sadness with the same care you give your joy, to provide sunlight for your fear with the same presence you offer your courage. This is what Rumi meant when he wrote, "Try not to resist the changes that come your way. Instead, let life live through you, and do not worry that your life is turning upside down. How do you know that the side you are used to is better than the one to come? Your heart garden knows what it is doing. It knows what needs to grow and when. It knows what needs to die to make room for new life. It knows how to compost your old hurts into rich soil for future flowers. Your only job is to show up, to place your hands on your chest each day and say, 'Good morning, garden. What wants my attention today?' To breathe into whatever you find there, to trust that your heart knows how to bloom. Again and again, the same truth returns. You will never find in any external garden what does not already grow in the secret chambers of your own heart. You will never receive from any other person the love that you do not first recognize blooming within yourself. You will never discover in any external achievement the sense of worth that does not first root itself in your own inner soil. But the reverse is also true. Every beautiful thing you have ever noticed in the world is a reflection of beauty that already exists in you. Every moment of love you have ever experienced is your own heart recognizing itself in temporary forms. Every peace you have ever felt is your inner garden revealing its eternal nature. So what will you choose? Will you continue searching in abandoned lots for flowers that bloom in your own heart? Will you keep knocking on doors that cannot give you what you already possess? Or will you turn toward the garden within and tend what has been growing there all along? Rumi offers us this final invitation. Let yourself be silently drawn by the strange pull of what you really love. It will not lead you astray. What you really love, not what you think you should love, not what others tell you to love, but what truly draws your heart, is always pointing you home to your own garden. Follow that pull. Trust that pull. It knows the way. In the silence that follows these words, place your hands on your heart one more time. Feel the gardener at work. Feel the flowers that have been blooming all along, waiting patiently for you to notice them, to tend them, to celebrate them. You are not a beggar seeking love from the world. You are a garden full of flowers that bloom in their own perfect time, in their own perfect way. This is enough. You are enough. You have always been enough. The garden remembers, even when you forget. Take a moment to comment below. What wants to bloom in your garden today? What flower is your heart ready to tend? And if this recognition touches something deep within you, consider staying with us here on this journey home to yourself. Each week, we explore together the pathways back to the truth that was never actually lost, the truth that everything you seek already blooms in the garden of your own heart. Until we meet again in the silence between words, tend your garden well. The flowers are waiting,